Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. I hope wherever you are in this planet of ours, you're having an absolutely fantastic week. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff happening in the news, but this morning that plane crash in South Korea, where everybody walked away from, that was an absolute miracle. It's just a scary thing to think of, two plane crashes in South Korea, in Seoul, in the last month. So let's hope there's no more of those to come. So this week on the Simply Tarot card of the week this week is called the Fool. And it doesn't mean that you're a fool. I mean, a lot of people look at this card and they think, oh, that means I'm foolish or I'm a fool. And, I really can't get my act together. And it doesn't mean that at all. It means good friends. And most of us could do with some good friends at most of our lifetime. So good friends, happiness. And sometimes the secondary meaning is needing to take a giant leap forward. Now, I think this is a very appropriate card at the beginning of the year when we're all leaping into our New Year's resolutions, if you make them. I don't, because I never kept any of them. So I decided a couple of years ago now that I wouldn't make any more. I'd just go about my business and make my year at my own pace. But for those of you that do, it's the perfect time to take that giant leap forward of moving into sort of maybe something that you've been frightened of taking. You're standing on the edge of the cliff there, ready to jump off. You sort of got all your worldly goods and your dog with you and you're happy and you're ready to do something. So it's a very, very positive card. It's never a negative card. Some people put the Fool at the beginning of the deck and some people put it at the end of the major arcana. That's a personal preference. I prefer to put it at the end because it's the zero card. It has no denomination. So to me, it could perfectly slide in anywhere in a tarot reading. So the Fool, good friends, happiness, and needing to take a giant leap forward in your life. So is there something that you need to take a giant leap forward for in your life at the moment? Or is it just time to sort of sit back and sort of peruse the horizons and see where you're going from here? Now, this week, astrologically, we've got a fairly big week. It's going to be the Aquarius Pisces week, really, when I start talking about it. And when we talk about things in astrology, when we talk about planets holding hands, or what's known as a stellium, which is what's happening twice this week. Now, the first one that I'm going to talk about in a minute is going to be very tight. So let's sort of wish everybody happy birthday for all the Aquarians around the planet. Now, I know that there's a lot of them. Happy birthday to all of you. And I hope you go out and do something daring and different and, really honour that Aquarian energy of, knowing a lot of things and wanting to be an individual and sort of really sort of putting your mark on the world. I have a lot of Aquarian friends and sometimes they rub me up the wrong way a little bit because they know everything and they don't seem to want to open their mind up and listen to potentially another point of view or another opinion. But then we all start laughing and say, oh, here we go again, the Sag with putting foot in mouth and just putting your foot in it, and the Aquarian that knows everything, and we have a bit of a laugh about it. But if you have Aquarian friends, sometimes you've got to be a little bit more patient because they get quite excited about what they think they know, and they probably do know it and probably do know more than the rest of us because they make it their mission to research something or learn something very, very thoroughly down to the nth degree. And sometimes that can be a little bit annoying to somebody that only likes to skim over the top. So happy birthday, Aquarians. It's your magic time of the year. It's your time to shine. So, strut your stuff. Now, the stellium that I was talking about is actually in Aquarius. So it's 3 planets that are holding hands together. Now, these 3 planets are only 1 degree apart. Now, this is not a normal type of stellium in that way. Normally, we have anything up to 7 to 10 degrees. We're sort of 10 is the very, very outside, whereas stellium is sort of starting to really water down. But when you've got something as tight as this, they're literally sitting on top of each other. Almost. It's like the holding hands is sort of like holding the pinkies together. They're really tight. So the first planet I'm going to talk about is the moon. I'm going to go through each one of them and I'm going to explain to you how this is all sort of going to work together. So the moon is the emotional planet, which will be affecting all air signs, which is Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, the opposite sign of Leo. Now, all of these that I'm going to talk about today will filter over to the other remaining signs, but will be a lot more watered down, a lot less that you will understand or even maybe feel the effect of it. So if you have the moon in Aquarius in your natal chart, which is when you were born, then this will really emphasize that for you today. So the moon is the emotional planet. It's showing us how to sort of deal with our emotions, whether they're positive or they're not so positive. It's going to be an emotional-led charge here. So you need to be very aware of that. The moon is holding hands or conjunct Mercury. Now, we understand that Mercury is the planet of communication. Now, when you've got the planet of communication sitting in Aquarius, it can be sort of a little bit more powerful, a little bit more dogmatic, a little bit more determined to get their message across. So you have to be aware of that if you're speaking out and needing to talk about a topic or a subject, make sure that you've got your facts straight, but make sure that you're sort of not being bombastic or too bossy that people sort of switch off because they feel that you're coming on far too strong. The final planet in the stellium is Pluto. Now, Pluto has just gone into Aquarius. So all of these planets I'm talking about are only 1 degree in Aquarius, where the sun is about 14 degrees at the moment. So well and truly past the point of joining the stellium of planets. So we've got the moon, we've got Mercury, and we've got Pluto. So what does this mean in layman's terms? It means we're going to be emotionally driven or emotionally charged to have conversations that hopefully are bringing about some life-changing events or bringing up a topic that has been off the table or something that we haven't sort of had enough information to talk about before, and hoping to sort of shed some light or bring some transformation or bring some new opportunities to the person's life. Now, again, I'm going to stress Aquarians, Libra, and Gemini, the opposite sign of Leo. Now, these are the 4 major components or the 4 major signs that it's going to affect. For the rest of us, it'll just wash over, sort of like just like the final wash over us. It won't be anywhere near as intense as it is for those 4. So you need to make sure that if you're going to have some serious conversations that need to be brought up with family members or your boss or the neighbour or whoever it might be, that you do it in a way that you've calmed your emotions down, that you're not coming in like the bull in the china shop, that you're coming in a very calm, logical, practical sort of manner. You've got your argument there or the information that you want to share. It's very clear, it's very concise because Mercury's there to help you. And we're trying to bring it across in a way that we're trying to show them or share with them that this could be transforming. This could be something that maybe is going to be an ongoing project, something that's going to take a long time, something that you need to look at. Have you thought outside the square? Have you looked for other ways of solving the problem or looking at things? Because it's something that needs to be looked at, but it's just because it's the stellium today and that will move very quickly. It doesn't mean the after effects of the conversations or the things that we're putting in motion all of a sudden have disappeared. This is just the beginning point, and we need to be very aware of this, that we can sort of then carry on in the months and years ahead with maybe information that will keep continuing to come up around this or needing to be worked on or the next piece to the puzzle. So this is just the very beginning. So I said to you we had another stellium. We have another one also in Pisces, but this one is a lot wider. It's going to be, I'm going to say we're going from being a very tight one in Aquarius of only 1 degree, where this one from the beginning of the 3 planets to the end of the 3 planets is a 10-degree stellium. Now, this is where we absolutely cut it off. We sort of say it's starting to wind down, and this is sort of like there's no point past this. Once you get past 10 degrees, there's no stellium. So we're talking about here the planets of Saturn, Venus, and Neptune. They are all in Pisces. They are all holding hands, and it's a varying degree. So Saturn is actually the widest one between that and Venus. So Venus and Neptune are sort of much tighter. So we're looking at this affecting the water signs, which is Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, and the opposite sign of Virgo. So yes, it is starting to affect some of the other signs, but nowhere near as intense as what I'm going to talk about. So Saturn is the planet of discipline, of structure, of wanting to bring about structure and order in our lives. Now, this sometimes doesn't feel that comfortable for a Pisces, because Pisces likes to be creative and sometimes embellish the truth a little bit or add a little bit of extra flavor or pizzazz to the story that they're telling. And they do make great storytellers and make, great songwriters and are terribly creative. And, sometimes they sort of get overloaded and they say, oh, I've got to have a mental health day. And I used to laugh at that when I used to hear Pisces say that. And then I realized, well, it does govern mental health. So for them to say, I'm not having the day off work or a day off life, I'm having a mental health day, is actually appropriate, saying that I'm in overload, I need to sort of just chill and sort of recharge my batteries, and nothing wrong with that. So Saturn here is sort of the leading the charge and sort of saying, okay, we want some structure, we want some discipline, we want things to be sort of put down on paper, we want this to become solid. Then we bring in a much wider distance away from Saturn, about 7 degrees away from Saturn, we bring in Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. It's the things that we love to do. So in comes that creative flair, that real sort of like, I really want to sort of bring it in, and I really want to make it really pretty and happy, and I want everybody to be sort of singing and dancing and having a good time with this. Even though we've had the structure there, we've laid the foundation, now we can bring in the pretty side of it. Now we can bring in the creative side, and then we've got also Venus conjunct or holding hands with Neptune. Now, Neptune is sometimes given a bad rap because sometimes it can be deceitful, it can be deceptive. But on the other side, Neptune can be very sort of fluid. It can sort of bring us out of the darkness into the light. It can sort of make everything feel sort of very creative as well. So I feel here this is a really good balance of everything. We've got the discipline on one end, and we've got the other end where we're saying don't delude yourself, don't be silly, make sure that it's real. And in the middle we've got all this beautiful, loving, creative energy. Even though it's a wide stellium, it's still a very important stellium, and it will be sort of affecting those signs, particularly the fell signs that I mentioned, for the next week or so. So it's a really it's quite a psychic time in a sense, because they're going to get some inspiration and sort of be able to be disciplined enough to put that information or apply that information in a very practical, logical manner, which sometimes is difficult, particularly for a Pisces. So it's a very positive time. We're going to wrap up the astrology with Jupiter still sitting in Gemini. So Jupiter's been in Gemini now for some time. It wraps up there at the end of next month. So it's sort of like it's still going retrograde. It's still sort of causing a little bit of havoc there, particularly with Geminis, Libras, and Aquarians, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius, where it's sort of like you get a momentum happening where you're sort of wanting to bring in new things, new opportunities, things like that, and you get a great gusto of energy, and you go, and then all of a sudden you stop. And it's like, oh, it's like the wind's gone out of your sails. So you have a little bit of a rest, you regroup, and then you go again. And it's not saying that things can't come towards you during this time. What it's asking you to do is really make sure, is that what you really want? Or have you just been working hard on a project because it was there for so long and it was so important to you and has been so important for so long that you've just continued on with it? Or is it really, now that we're in a new year, is it really that important to you? Is it really what you want to achieve? Or do we need to readjust the goalposts and maybe take it out of the equation? Maybe it's not as important anymore. Maybe that job promotion isn't as important as it was, 6 months ago, because your life has changed direction, your life has changed course, and you're going in a different direction. So maybe you need to readjust those sort of things. Look, I could go on and on and on for hours about what's happening astrologically at the moment, because there's a lot of intensity there at the moment. But what I try and do is cherry pick what I think is the most important to bring onto the show every week to help everybody. And that's why I don't cover the 12 signs. So we're going to take our first caller, and it's Suzanne in Westville in Nova Scotia in Canada. Are you there, Suzanne?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Suzanne?
I'm not sure if you, I know, you probably don't do health at all, right? No.
No, that's sort of a tricky area because all the different countries around the world all have different rules on that. But what I can do is look at it from an energetic standpoint. So I'm not diagnosing, I'm not giving you prescription medicine or suggestions in that way, but I can tell you on an energetic level if something is shifting or things are improving, or that sometimes sort of helps understand that medical side of what we're concerned about. So fire your question, I'll either say yes or no, I can answer it. How's that?
Okay. Well, I've been having ongoing knee and leg issue, and I've had diagnosis and this and that, but it's still I'm going nowhere fast with it. My instincts are saying to me, I feel that it's different. It's something different than what they're just saying. It's old age. It's not. I feel in my heart that it's not, and I just want to feel. I want to get to the bottom of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I've been
Totally
in a lot of
understand that.
stuff.
I totally understand that, Suzanne. And the first thing I would say to you there is stop right there. If your instincts, your psychic ability is telling you what they've shared with you, even though they've done all the training and they're the medical team, if your instincts are telling you that that's wrong, you don't believe it, you don't agree with it, and it's annoying you, it's not just a passing thought, but it's gnawing at you in your stomach, then you've got to follow that. Look, I'm a firm believer in, there's a place for everything, whether it's complementary medicine or whether it's orthodox medicine. I think we need to follow and explore what works for us. So my suggestion would be have a look around at both sides of the coin in that way and look for something that maybe might be able to help you. What came to me on a psychic level, on an energetic level for you, is that your energies are blocked. It's like something's not right. Something's out of balance. It's like the scales are tipping one way and they should be level. And that's where I think we've got to bring something back into balance. Now, I'm not sure how that sits with you and how you feel psychically, but that's what they were showing me. It's an energy blockage of some kind.
I am very intuitive and I am very like on a mediumship level.
Right.
So yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I'm not into any particular therapy as far as something like that, but what they showed it to me was the energy was out of balance. It's like we need to bring it back into balance. It's like it's seesawing one way or the other, and that's what's causing the pain. And that's why I think you need to sort of, look around, talk to people, ask people questions. If you've got a friend that's been and had a particular type of therapy or tried a particular type of vitamin, have a chat. You'll know on an intuitive level whether that's right for you and that's what you need to explore. And that's where I think it is. I think it's, if I'm not disputing you haven't got physical pain, you have. But if our energies are blocked in our bodies, it can then create such pain that normal, basic, we go to a doctor, we go to a specialist, we have an x-ray, we do this, they can't find anything and say, oh, it's old age. You know what I mean? It's the greatest excuse. But without getting to the bottom of what the problem is, to me, yours is a blockage. There's something there that's not right. And I think once we can get that back into a balance, then I think the pain will slowly start to move away. Like if you're in pain, you favour that side of the body. So then you throw other parts of the body out of balance because you're favouring the sore knee or whatever the case may be. So, you've got to look at it as the whole picture. I don't think you're wrong. I really do believe that, what you feel is right. It is not that problem. It's something more. They're basically fobbing you off and giving you, probably a bottle of pills to take the pain away temporarily, but it's not getting to the cause.
Right.
And I think initially you hurt yourself. You banged your leg or something that you probably don't even remember. And that's what triggered this?
I'm not sure. I don't know how it just happened. I'm not.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's sort of like it wasn't a bang as in, you stopped and you held onto your leg and said, oh, my God, that hurts. This was just sort of something, you brushed past something, you knocked your knee or something like that. That was the onset of this. It wasn't necessarily did it cause the pain. It was what's caused whatever the emotional blockage is. Like that was the beginning point, is what they showed me. And it might not, as I said, not something that you even remember because it didn't pull you up at the time. You weren't in pain. It was just one of those things. We all bang ourselves all day long. We bang into a wall or, catch your elbow on something and you don't think anything of it. You just get about your day. It was one of those sort of instances. So I know you're going to get to the bottom of this, but I think you're going to have to ask a lot of questions, ask a lot of people what they've done, listen to everybody else's ailments, and out of that you will get the answer.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, sweetie, that's where we've got to leave it. Okay, we're going to talk with Dominique now in Winsboro in Texas. Are you there, Dominique?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, sweetie?
Just a general reading.
Okay. So is there any particular area of your life that is troubling you at the moment or something that you want some more clarity on?
Yes.
And what area would that be,
just has
sweetie?
To do, just the future.
Just the future. Okay. All right. I always ask that because most times people have a specific question that they want answered when they call into the show. The first thing that they're showing me around you is, Dominique, is that there's going to be a lot of change this year. Was 2024 a sort of a stop-start year where you never sort of really felt you got any traction last year? You'd sort of get a bit of momentum and then it'd stop again and then we'd have to sort of build back up again to sort of regain what we sort of had already had and sort of try and go again. Is that how last year was?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're showing me this year is going to be the first 3 months are going to be pretty much the same as 2024 was. But after we get past the end of March, it's like everything sort of lets loose. Everything starts to gain traction and we're moving forward and things are really starting to sort of come together. It's interesting because they're showing me that you're a little bit hesitant to move sort of forward. You want change. You want to bring some good things into your life. But it's almost like you stop yourself, you sort of get to a certain point and it's like this fear sort of sets in, what if I can't do this? What if I'm not good enough? What if it's not right? What if? Look, they're very real fears and really and very real concerns, Dominique. And I'm not going to say that you shouldn't have them or try and push them to one side. But what I'm going to suggest is look at it. Let's just sort of break it down. If it's a fear of sort of moving house, well, then let's dissect it and sort of understand why you have a fear of moving house. What are the pros? What are the cons? And sort of that way, I think it'll help you sort of make decisions that you'll sort of be comfortable with. I think there's been a lot of things that you've done in the last 3 years in particular. You look back and say, I wish I hadn't done that. So what you've done is you've sort of taken that, things that didn't quite work out the way you wanted them to a point now that I'm super cautious, I'm over cautious, and we need to get you back into a sort of a natural rhythm. They are showing me a new job in the middle of the year. Is that something that you were aiming towards, sort of maybe changing a job mid-year?
Not necessarily changing a job, but being my own boss.
Right. Now, what they were showing me was a change there because there was sort of something fresh, something new, something exciting around the job front that had also more money attached to it. So that's why I assumed it was a new job, but it was certainly something opening up around June, July, August that you were really excited about that was connected with, how you earn your income. And it felt very positive to me. Is there someone special in your life at the moment? Because they keep showing me a pink heart, but they keep bringing it forward and then they sort of pull it back and then they bring it forward and then they pull it back. Is there a new relationship there?
No, ma'am. Just ending one.
Oh, you've just ended one. Was that a struggle for you to get to the point where you finally called a day on that?
Yes.
Okay, that would explain then the heart coming forward and then stopping and pulling back. Okay, right. We need to leave that in the past now because I do feel that there is going to be new love that's going to come in this year, and you don't have to necessarily turn around and be scared of that either. It's sort of like, okay, things come to an end for various reasons, and sometimes they're quick endings and sometimes it takes us a bit of time before we eventually say that's it. But with this new one coming in, I feel, yes, I'm a little bit hesitant to begin with, but not because there's anything wrong. It's just that you don't want to make a mistake. And I think you just got to take it, hour by hour and sort of assess things as it happens. And, as long as there's nothing there that you feel super uncomfortable with, then just let it grow at its own natural pace. There doesn't have to be a certain timetable or a certain amount of speed that we go through to say that a relationship's right. Each relationship is different and each person is different at how they feel comfortable moving forward. I can tell you he's got dark hair and brown eyes and a beautiful smile, and he's a very, very, very nice man. What you see is what you get. There's no BS. There's no hidden agendas. He's just a very decent, happy-go-lucky sort of man that works hard and will endeavour to make you the happiest lady on the planet. So you can't ask for much more than that when it comes to a relationship. But this year, I think, is going to be a year of change where you need to sort of not preempt what's going to happen, but when it happens, then just sort of, take your time and make sure that you feel comfortable with the changes that are happening and go at your pace. But don't let fear hold you back because the last few years have been tricky or difficult or haven't panned out the way you wanted them to. This is a brand new year and it's a brand new you, Dominique, where, you're a lot stronger and a lot more wise than what you give yourself credit for. So I want to see you sort of work with that and not sort of put the brakes on yourself so much. It's a really big year for you. You've got a lot of wonderful things that are going to happen. You sort of give too much for everybody else. I want to see you give to yourself this year. Can you relate to that?
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
It's good. Well, it's your year. You've got to be at the top of the queue this year, not everybody else. It's your time. So, have you got some fairly big plans for this year?
Right now, everything's kind of up in the air. I'm just taking it day by day,
Well, that's good.
but
That's what
with
you
like
need
an
to do.
open mind and an open heart.
Yeah, and that's what you need to do because the last few years have been tough. They haven't gone quite the way that you expected they would. So, of course, there's a little bit of fear and whatever there. But no, I feel you're in the right headspace and things will slowly start to unfold. But I'd like to see you just sort of glide through till about the end of March, sort of not, unless absolutely necessary, don't make any major decisions before then if you can help it. If it's urgent and you have to, that's fine. But if you don't have to, let's just be a little bit like a log in the river, just float down the river and just see where things go. And you'll find then that things will become a lot easier and you will feel more confident in the decisions and the choices that you make moving forward. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave Dominique. We've come to the end of the show. It's always an interesting time of the year at the beginning of a new year where people are taking on new things or looking at when does my year officially start, and it doesn't always start on January 1. Sometimes, it mightn't start till the middle of the year for you personally. It doesn't matter. It's not a race. It's your life, it's your opportunities for things to come and go as you see fit. And, we are human. We can change our mind. We can sort of change our mind midstream and say that we're going a different direction because that's what needs to happen. And don't feel guilty about that. The only person you've really got to answer to is yourself, particularly about goals and things that you've set in motion for yourself. Yes, we've got to consider other people in the family and our partners and things like that, but we need to sort of be very aware of being true to ourselves first and foremost. I always leave you with a song of the week every week, and each week I never know what I'm going to sort of suggest I'm going to leave until, probably minutes before the show starts. But this week it was sort of like one of my favourite songs back from the 70s here in Australia, and it kept on going round and round in my head, and I thought, well, this has to be the song of the week. So for many of you, you won't know this song. I suggest you Google it and look it up and listen to it. It's called Winter in America by Doug Ashdown, and it's a beautiful story about a love story. And it's a very, very pretty song. It always warms my heart. My aunt used to play this over and over again when I was a young girl, but it's a beautiful love song, and I'm going to leave you with Winter in America by Doug Ashdown. Until next week, bye for now.